The elder let the silence stretch before he spoke again. The fire had burned lower, but its glow still carved light into the lines of his face. After the storm. Storms do not end the world, child. They cleanse it. The War of the Accord stripped power from the hands that clutched it, and what grew in the space was something the galaxy had not seen in ages. It was not golden, it was not perfect, but it was peace. And peace, when tended, is louder than war, though in a different register. Instead of drums, you heard market bells. Instead of cannons, you heard hammers striking beams. Instead of casualty lists, you saw marriage ledgers swelling with names from different stars. The Age of Exchange. They called it the Age of Exchange. Kalani fruit sellers loaded carts bound for Toruan harbors. Shard tools repaired earth engines. Human steel bent into Kalani plows. Torun drummers taught Shaw miners to beat rhythms on pipes, and entire shifts began to work in time without overseers. A Dominion refugee, once a raider, opened a bakery on a core world. He mixed Torun grain, human sugar, Kalani fruit, and sold bread that drew lines longer than old ration queues. When asked why, he shrugged and said, "Peace tastes better when it is shared." The games of peace. Humans spread games faster than treaties. Children kicked leather balls in alleys between cargo crates. Tournaments sprang up where Kalani children ran races wearing human shoes, and Torwun drummers thundered the rhythm for Shaw divers leaping into harbors. Even contests of appetite spread, who could eat the most sweet fruit, who could drink the sourest Torwun brew without spitting. At first, elders frowned. They said, "These games are frivolous." But soon they saw what we all saw, a Kalani child, a Char child, and a human child arguing fiercely about who cheated in a foot race, and then collapsing in laughter. Games did what politics never could, made kin out of rivals. The quiet wonders. Trade brought more than food, it brought inventions. Humans brought filters to make salt water sweet. Kalani brought sun banners that stored light. Char gifted new couplings that made engines last years longer. Toruan shared song blasts that vibrated to guide ships through fog. No one empire could claim ownership, each gift bound to another. The core called it dilution. The rest of us called it weaving. And the tapestry grew thick. The council relearns. The council, gods, that den of wrangling voices, learned too. Once, debates were measured by who shouted loudest. Now, someone would say, "Have we written the names?" And silence would fall, because none dared skip that step. A Char senator told me once, "I hate it. It slows everything." Then he laughed, "But my miners come home more often now, so I will keep hating it." Mistakes and corrections. Do not think humans flawless in peace. They stumbled. A commander tried to impose efficiency standards on a Kalani caravan, not realizing the festival required a slower pace so children could walk beside elders. The caravan arrived early but empty of laughter. The humans apologized, walked the next one barefoot at the same pace, and learned. A human medic told a grieving mother, "It will be okay." The mother turned her face away, silent as stone. The next day the medic returned, said only, "I am here." That family now keeps a human proverb carved on their lintel: presence before promise. Peace teaches as harshly as war, if you let it. The blending of culture. Festivals became mosaics. On Earth, Toruan drums thundered through human New Year. In Kalani cities, Earth's autumn harvest feasts were folded into planting festivals. Char children painted their faces with human colors, laughing when elders called them ridiculous. Then elders tried it themselves the next year. Food changed too. Humans brought pepper. Toruan added drums of spice. Kalani baked fruit into bread. Char cooked stonefish no one else dared touch. Together, meals became proof that peace can sit heavy in the belly. Shadows that remain. Of course, not all was harmony. Core families whispered, "They stole our pride." Dominion holdouts muttered, "Storms always return." And sometimes humans themselves grew proud, speaking as if they carried more weight than others. But the web corrected them. A Kalani merchant would scoff, "Sit down, hero, you're blocking the stall." And the human would sit, embarrassed, smiling at the joke. Power checked by laughter, do not underestimate it. Songs of the long peace. Music spread like bread. Toruan war songs shifted to harvest hymns, ending with verses about bows passed hand to hand. Kalani mothers sang earth lullabies reshaped into their tongue, so the words meant, "Rest, the world holds you." Shar mining chants added a human roll call, names spoken aloud before descent to ensure they returned with the same number. These songs outlasted speeches. Children remember songs when they forget laws. The eighth lesson. The elder leaned forward, firelight catching his eyes. "You have heard 7 lessons, now hear the 8th. Humans plant storms as seeds, and in peace those seeds bloom as forests. They are not only fighters, they are gardeners of kinship. They plant trust in broken soil, water it with laughter, prune it with argument, guard it with fury. You may blockade their roots, burn their fields, salt their ground. But when the rain comes, and rain always comes, the forest grows back thicker. And when you walk in that forest, you may find yourself singing their songs without knowing why. That is how peace holds." Coda, the chalk that endures. In a Toruan harbor, a child once wrote in chalk, "If it breaks, fix it. If you can't fix it, hold it. If you can't hold it, call us." Inspectors scrubbed it away. War washed it away. Rain took it a dozen times. Each time, someone rewrote it. Now it is etched in stone above the harbor. The child's name is forgotten. The words are not. That, little ones, is the long peace. Fragile, stubborn, and stronger than any fleet. The elder exhaled, and the fire crackled like agreement. Part 8 is peace between storms. If you carry anything forward, carry this. Humans are not only the storm. They are also the ones who sweep after, and the ones who plant again. The elder leaned in so close to the coals that the orange light gilded the deep scars in his face. The children sat stiff, sensing the tale had shifted again. The storm was gone, yes, but the silence after had teeth. The weight of peace. For a generation, the galaxy lived in something like balance. Markets bustled, drums beat in harbors. Kalani orchards bore fruit enough to be shipped 3 systems over. Shar miners sang roll calls that ended with the same number at dusk as at dawn. Toruan choirs filled rebuilt halls with harmony so rich it seemed to plaster over the cracks in memory. To most, this was proof that storms do end, that humans were not demons, but gardeners. But storms never end. They only pass, leaving the air thick and waiting for the next thunder. Whispers on the rim. The first tremors came from the edges of the chart, in places even star maps smudged. A Kalani caravan master returned pale, saying her compasses spun like drunkards whenever she entered a certain drift. Fruit in her basket soured mid-voyage. The ship's cat, a hardy beast that had survived micrometeor storms, refused to eat and clawed its way into a crate of salt until its paws bled. Toruan sailors spoke of lights beneath their keels, moving in silence, following faster than current should allow. One swore the lights answered his drumming by changing rhythm. Shar miners dug into a seam of black stone and felt the vibration hum back into their bones. Not echo, reply. They abandoned the shaft, but weeks later the mine collapsed without cause, the rocks arranged as if hands had stacked them. The vanishing at Outpost Kether. One day, an outpost called Kether sent its last message. Half words, half screams, then silence. When the relief convoy arrived, they found no fire, no wreckage. The walls were whole, the beds neatly turned down. Plates of food sat half-eaten. Chairs pulled back as if everyone had stood at once. Not a body, not a drop of blood. And on the bulkhead, gouged deep enough to scar alloy, we watched too long. The letters were human script, but no humans had been stationed there. how rumors travel. The galaxy thrives on rumor the way lungs thrive on air. A Kalani fruit seller whispered, "It is the old gods, angry at our mixing." A Taruan drummer said, "No, it is the sea beneath stars. It drums back." A core remnant sneered, "Convenient shadows. Humans invent ghosts to keep their thrones." And everywhere children began a new game. They would sit in silence, then all rise at once, chairs screeching, eyes blank, whispering, "We watched too long." Parents forbade it, which only made it spread faster. The burden of reputation. Do you see? Even before the truth revealed itself, the galaxy assumed. When strange things stirred, whispers turned to one name: humans. Some said, they caused it. Others, they will stop it. And both were dangerous. To be feared is sharp. To be needed is sharper still. Humans became both. Every new disappearance or omen, no matter how far, curved back to them. The humans themselves said little. They listened. They collected fragments. They gathered small crews who asked more questions than they answered. And in their silence, their legend only swelled. The council in dissonance. The Grand Council split like glass under heat. The Kalani delegate demanded fleets investigate, her voice shaking. Better to chase shadows than let them grow. The Toruan envoy thumped a drum and sang, "Where children vanish, silence is treason." The Shah slammed claws and roared, "If stone speaks, we must know its tongue." But the core remnant smirked. Do you not see? Every whisper leads back to earth. Who benefits from fear but them? This is manipulation cloaked as mystery. The chamber descended into uproar. Old wounds reopened. Allies shouted at allies. And when order was called, all eyes turned to the human seats. The humans did not rise, did not shout. Their envoy only unrolled a map and marked every place where the strange had occurred. Quietly she said, "If it touches our allies, it touches us. If it touches us, we will walk to it. That is all." She sat. The silence after was thicker than the argument. At the markets. Markets often know before councils. A Kalani farmer whispered as he sold his last crate, "The sky feels heavy." A Taruan fisher spat into the sea and said, "When the tide sings back, the storm is near." A Char smith muttered over his forge, "My hammer rang twice for one strike." And human traders? They smiled tiredly, gave discounts for salt and nails, and said nothing. The uneasy web. Suspicion is a contagion. Allies began to watch humans as much as they trusted them. "Did you bring the storm?" some asked. Humans answered, "If we did, we would tell you. If we didn't, we'll stand with you." It was not enough for all, but it was enough for most. And slowly, the web trembled, not snapping, but pulling tight, as if bracing. The 9th lesson, unfinished. The elder's voice dropped, gravel deep, firelight flickering in his eyes. "You have heard 8 lessons. The 9th is not yet written, but we know its first line. The horizon never sleeps, and the humans, they always walk toward it. No other people seek storms. Humans do. They walk into the dark where compasses fail, where lights drum back, where stations go silent. Not for conquest, not for glory, but because something waits, and if no one goes, the waiting devours us all. What waits beyond the rim may break them, or it may break us, should we face it without them. But know this, whatever its shape, the humans are already walking into it. Smiling, bleeding, singing." The elder leaned back, letting the fire snap and pop. None of the children laughed now. Their eyes were wide, reflecting embers like stars. "That is part 9, little ones. The peace holds, but the horizon stirs. And when it wakes, the story of the humans will not end. It will only deepen." The elder's voice had grown slow, as though the fire itself demanded caution. The children leaned closer, not from eagerness, but from unease. The first sightings. The omens grew teeth. A Kalani convoy charting adrift saw stars vanish, one by one, swallowed not by cloud, but by movement. They returned with hulls coated in residue that hummed under touch, and fruit inside their crates that had aged a year and a day. A Toruan whaler followed lights beneath the waves of an ice moon. The lights surfaced, not ships, not fish, but shapes taller than masts, faceless, walking across the sea. The crew sang until their throats bled, not in courage, but in terror. They returned without half their number, and those who lived claimed no one had died. They had simply stepped overboard and walked with the lights. A Shaw mine collapsed on itself. When rescuers dug through, they found the tunnels empty, tools laid neatly along the walls, dust untouched, as if no miner had swung a pick that day. But every chalk roll call still hung, every name answered. Voices in the dark spoke them. The council in panic. The Grand Council convulsed. The Kalani cried, "It is real, arm the fleets." The Toruan banged drums, "If it takes children, we will take it first." The Char slammed claws, "Stone should not speak. If it does, silence it." And the core remnants? They smirked. "Do you not see? Fear drives you to humans again. This is their design. They invent ghosts to keep your chains polished." The chamber nearly came to blows. Delegates shouted over each other until the ceiling shook. And in the center, the humans listened. Then their envoy stood, map unrolled, marks inked where the vanishing spread. She said only, "We will go, because someone must." And she sat. The silence after bent the room. Voices from the rim. In markets and taverns, stories boiled. A Kalani child whispered, "The lights came to my window. They tapped 3 times, but I did not answer. Next day my neighbor was gone." A Toruan sailor drank until he wept. They do not kill. They invite. That is worse. A Char smith muttered, "I struck iron and the iron answered with a rhythm I did not play. I have not worked since." And humans? They packed, quietly, tools first, weapons second, songs always. When asked why, they answered, "If we don't go, someone else will have to. Better it be us." The first expedition. They called it an expedition, though every soul knew the word for it, a test. 3 human ships, 1 Kalani carrier, 1 Toruan drumship, a single Char freighter armed with more claws than cannons. They sailed for the black drift where stars vanished. Messages came for 3 days, then silence. A week later, 1 ship limped back. Human, scarred to bone, hull dripping with residue that ate paint. The crew said nothing for a day. When they spoke, their voices were cracked. The dark walked back, they whispered, and it knew our names. The uneasy waiting. After that, the galaxy waited. Merchants slowed, festivals thinned. In taverns, voices dropped when the horizon was mentioned. Even the council stopped shouting for a week. But the humans did not wait. They repaired ships. They gathered volunteers. They smiled, not out of joy, but out of habit, that strange defiance that shows teeth to terror. One Kalani elder asked a human captain, "Why you? Why always you?" He answered, "Because if we don't, no one will. And if no one will, then it wins before the fight starts." The 9th lesson, begun. The elder's voice fell to a hush, as if even the fire dared not crackle too loud. You have heard 8 lessons. The 9th is still being written, but its second line is clear. When the horizon walks back, humans will meet it halfway. They do not wait for storms to reach their fields. They march into the dark with bleeding feet and tired smiles, because they cannot bear to let others go alone. What waits beyond the rim is not yet known. But I tell you this, it has already seen the humans, and the humans have already begun to walk. The elder leaned back, the fire a dim red glow. None of the children spoke. One shivered and pulled their cloak close. That is part 10, little ones. When the horizon stirred, the humans rose. When it walked back, they stepped forward. And so the story deepens, not in endings, but in beginnings. The elder's voice was strained now, as if each word carried the weight of memory he would rather set down. The fire spat once, sending sparks into the air like tiny fleeing stars. The expedition returns. After the first expedition limped back, scarred and silent, there were questions without answers. What did they see? What took their voices? What does it want? For weeks, the survivors spoke little. Then one night, a Toruan drummer heard a pattern in their silence. Their breaths fell in rhythm, as though still answering something unseen. He banged his drum once, sharp. The survivors flinched, then whispered in unison, "It drums back." That was all they would say. The call for volunteers. Even so, the humans did not stop. They stood in the council chamber, tired eyes steady, and said, "We will go again." Delegates shouted. "Madness!" cried the core remnants. "Suicide!" muttered cautious allies. But Kalani merchants laid their ledgers on the floor, saying, "If they go, we send ships." Toruan drummers pounded their vow. "Where they march, we march." Shah warriors grinned and sharpened their claws. And so, another fleet assembled. Not large, not grand, but chosen. The Black Drift. They sailed into the Black Drift, where stars vanish. At first, silence. Empty space, colder than truth. Then movement, shapes taller than ships, not of metal, but of shadow. They glided, faceless, featureless, but every crew swore they felt watched. Instruments failed, compasses spun. One by one, crew began to hear their names whispered in their own voices. A Kalani pilot clawed at her ears, screaming, "My mother calls me, but she has been dead 30 years." A Toruan drummer beat his drum until his hands split, drowning the whispers. A Char warrior bellowed challenges into the void, but the void only answered with his own roar. The human response. And the humans? They laughed. Yes, laughed, harsh, ragged, but real. One captain shouted, "If you know my name, sing it in tune." Another tore the wires from his ears and began humming an earth lullaby. The others joined, voices broken but united. The shadows froze. They shifted. They withdrew just enough that compasses steadied. It was not victory, but it was the first time the dark had retreated. The cost. The fleet returned fewer than it left. Ships cracked, minds scarred. Some volunteers never spoke again. But they carried proof. The dark was not invincible. It could be met. It could even be pushed back if faced with something it did not understand. And what it did not understand, what it could not drown, was human defiance wrapped in song. The council trembles. When the tale spread, the council reeled. Some said, "We must wall the rim, shut the gates, let the dark have the edge." Others, "No, march deeper, while it still fears." The core remnant smirked, as always. Convenient that only humans claim to hold it back. Convenient that they return with stories no one else can prove. But Kalani farmers whispered. They laughed at the dark. Toruan drummers struck rhythms to match the story. Shah miners carved new chants. It drums, we drum louder. And across the stars, the legend grew. The 9th lesson, written in fire. The elder's voice rose, sharp as the sparks. You have heard 8 lessons. The 9th is now written. Hear it. When the horizon walks back, humans walk forward, and the dark itself falters. No other people answers terror with laughter. No other people bleeds and sings in the same breath. No other people turns their own fear into a weapon against what would devour them. The horizon stirs, the horizon walks, and humans walk to meet it, smiling through blood.